Hello, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me on this video chat that I'm doing here. I haven't made a video on this channel in quite some time, so it should be pretty cool to catch up with you guys and also let you know kind of what's going on and what's happening. Now, if you're not familiar, this channel is a channel that I just use for some other things. I'm using it in the background for some uploads that I do for Patreon. So unfortunately, on the front end, you guys can't see those videos unless you're Patreon subscribers. So if you want to check that stuff out, you'd have to go to patreon.com/creative guitar studio, and then you'd be able to sign up and be able to see those other videos that I put up on there. My main YouTube channel, of course, is at Creative Guitar Studio. I'll put a link to that at the bottom of the screen so you guys are aware of that channel. It's the one that I actively upload to all the time. And what I'm going to do here in this video is, first of all, just catch up with you, let you know what I've been up to. It's kind of the winter months here since the last time that I posted a video, which was in the summer months, and I was usually doing that from my shop, and you probably saw my motorcycle in the background and maybe one of my old cars. If you're not familiar, I used to be a mechanic, so back before I went to music college, I was fixing cars, working on cars. It's what I pretty much had done, prior to going to music school. But after I went to Musicians Institute out in California there, I converted over to guitar 100% in my life, and been a musician ever since, and that's since 1992. So I do like talking about cars. I do that a lot on my Instagram and on my Facebook channels. So if you're not following me over on those social media platforms, definitely do so. And if you like old cars and talking about mechanics and fixing things and stuff like that, I'm always down for talking about that stuff too. Now, what I'm going to do in this video here is I'm just going to kind of bring you up to speed on some of the work that I've been doing, and I have been working on some more curriculum on the Guitar Studio website. So if you go over to creativeguitarstudio.com and sign up there, you're going to find a whole bunch of my courses that I've been putting up there for years. I started that website back in 2015, so there's a ton of stuff over there. And I guess about 4 years ago now, I started Patreon as well. So what I do is I post main guitar lesson video on the Creative Guitar Studio YouTube channel. And then there's a secondary video with all the handouts and MP3 jam tracks and all that good stuff over on Patreon as a sort of a part 2 lesson plan with all of the material that goes along with it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try and do more videos actually coming up recently. I've been busy and I really have neglected this particular YouTube channel, but I'm going to try and put more stuff up here for you guys and just kind of keep you up, to date on what's happening on the other channel. Some other things, maybe I'll just, kind of treat these conversations real casual and just kind of have fun, kind of doing a real, just chit chat with you, fireside chat or whatever you want to call it. So what I'm going to start out with here is the last couple of videos that I posted had some really good lesson plan material in it, and if maybe you saw them, maybe you didn't. If you haven't, they're on my Creative Guitar Studio YouTube channel there. But they had to do with two main factors that I think are super important for people to understand. One of them is having to do with, like, when you're doing your general, songwriting, or maybe you're building phrases, maybe you're just soloing, there's phrasing involved, there's melodic themes, there's guitar licks, there's everything about the chord changes in the background, and everything that you kind of need to have under your belt, like the key signature and then the tonality, all that stuff. It's all coming from what's happening with those chord changes that are part of the progression in the background. And once you really understand how to use that, it's to your huge advantage. And a lot of people really neglect that stuff for a long time. So there's some core elements that you have to be aware of. And if you want to play solos well, if you want to play melodically and you want to get your rhythm skills together, you kind of need to understand that stuff. I put the video lesson together, and I'll put the name of the video on the screen so you can go check it out if you want to. And it's all about starting from the chord changes that are in the background. And from the chord changes, you organize your scale tones and you understand what the key signature is doing. From there, you also get a pretty good idea too about how the rhythm guitar aspects are being used. And then from that point, when you want to begin building melodies, you have phrasing that you need to develop, and there's some specific ways and targeted ways you can do that. And they involve involve building melodic themes. So once you have a theme for a melody and you understand how you want it to be phrased, which means, the phrasing is going to evolve through the piece. You have an intro maybe, and then that's going to, move to, let's say, the verse, and then maybe you'll have a bridge later, and then of course you're going to have a chorus. Most songs have at least a verse and a chorus. By, some way they get differentiated. And then at the end, you could even have an outro, and that's building that large scope behind, how the phrasing is operating for the piece. So that's kind of like, what I wanted to do in that lesson plan, and I did a really, good breakdown of 5, core elements that you need to develop that with. So go check that one out. I think it'll be a real eye-opener for you to help you understand how that fits together. And then the other video that I just put out recently, it has to do more with, what people are struggling with when they just first get into guitar. So if you're especially a new student and you're just into guitar starting out, there's some battles that you go through. I mean, hey, we all understand that playing a guitar or any instrument, it's not exactly easy. It just, takes a long time. And the other problem with it is you start practicing and you start learning how to play the instrument and you have problems, and you don't understand why stuff isn't working. And I'll often, especially when I used to see a lot of private students, because Creative Guitar Studio has been around a long time. I mean, this business started in 1992. For most of its existence, it was a bricks and mortar company, and I had, students coming in, and it was all face-to-face lessons and group classes and seminars and workshops and that kind of stuff. And I also traveled around quite a bit, especially back through the late 90s, did a lot of seminars and workshops all over Canada and went into the United States a bit, went to Europe and stuff. So there's a lot of things that I've learned along the way. And one of the big benefits I can give you is, if my knowledge, is a lot of things come down to what I'll call error of omission. And if you've never heard that term before, you can look it up and just Google it. But it's just like, if it's not in your study routine and you don't know about it, you don't practice it. So what happens is it prevents you from being able to play the way that you'd want to be playing. And it's a very, common thing, and it happens with all kinds of stuff. I was telling you before, I love working on cars. I used to be a mechanic back in the day, and when I'm working on cars, or even anything mechanical, because I'm one of those people where I could do a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of electrical, carpentry, a little bit of drywall, this and that, and I can actually paint very well. I'm a good painter. I painted this room that we're in now, but I mean, like, when you get into doing anything that involves a process to it, if you don't understand something, if you're not aware of something, especially in mechanics or, any of those above that I just mentioned, if you're not aware of a certain way of an order and sequence to do something, if you're not aware of even like tools or even just different supplies that you should have to do something, it can make it a problem. I mean, now with our music being so easy to deal with digitally, and I use sequencers. There's a piano behind me. You can see it there. I mean, I use different kinds of digital formats. I mean, all my recording is digital. What I'm doing right now is digital. And there's ways to use this equipment that it just makes it better. I have a lapel mic on right now, and I'm feeding it to a small EQ. And all this stuff, when you understand it and you can put it into focus in the right order and sequence, you get really good results out of it. And that's what I'm trying to get across with that last lesson I did with practice mistakes. There's 5 of them that I wanted to go over, and I'm trying to remember exactly what they were. I know it had to do with notes on the neck. It was visualization technique. There's stuff to do with like technique, as I mean like technical playing skills, left and right hand coordination skills. And then there was things like your rhythm ability and the ability to create a good solid practice routine. All of this stuff, if you have it in the right way, in the right order and sequence, it just creates a really good process for you to work through, and you see results faster. And if you dedicate yourself to it, and if you do it, you wind up having a lot easier time looking at yourself later and saying, hey, I am getting better, and I am achieving more skills and getting better as a musician. And as long as this stuff has some kind of procedure to it, then that's everything. Back when I was going to music college, we had a class that we did called lifemanship. And it was all about understanding how to use your natural abilities as a musician and, gain faster, success with whatever endeavor that it was that you were pursuing. Whether that was you wanted to form a band, go live on stage, maybe do some touring, maybe you wanted to do more education stuff like I decided to do. Maybe it was just playing small venues is because there's a lot of ways that you can make your living as a musician, and now with the world that we're in with digital and everything, the internet. I mean, there's even like more ways that you can earn money and become a musician in a way that's very different than, let's say, you could in maybe the 1970s, for example. So, think about how you're organizing your time, how you're organizing your I guess, structure in your learning, and take into consideration the things that I am going to be talking about in those lessons there that I had mentioned, because there were two of them, and in the last couple of weeks, those lesson plans are, giving you a lot of very good foundation information to go from. So, study that stuff. And then, see what it does for you in the days ahead. For some people, you're not going to see much progress. But overall, as a musician, it could take months. It could take even years for certain skills to really show themselves well. I mean, like for songwriting and composing, arranging, those skills, you have to write like 100 songs, and you have to just keep experimenting and playing music for other people and getting feedback and learning what works and what doesn't work, and get feedback from a lot of different people. Because if you just ask your wife or your girlfriend or your son or your daughter, I mean, they might give you like really, glorious reviews when you go and whereas when you go and talk to somebody that's like not within that circle, they might give you more constructive feedback and more like criticism about how you can improve. So those are big factors. Don't always stay with the same group of people, in other words, and share your ideas with others too. Sometimes recording engineers, they can be fantastic. They can give you a lot of really good feedback on how things are going with your playing or with the songwriting that you're doing. Other skillful musicians that you admire, maybe there's somebody that you look up to as kind of a mentor. Go over information of how you're working through things with them, and then get feedback from them as well. But anyway, guys, I'm just going to kind of wrap this thing up as the weeks go on. I do plan on putting more of these videos together for you guys, and hopefully they kind of fill in some gaps in between, because when I do the main videos on the main channel, they're very structured, and they're very fast moving, fast paced, and they're trying to get a ton of information into a very small period of time, like maybe anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes. So this is going to be more of a communication that I can have with you that's just going to be laid back, and I'll just like talk about things and inject some personal stories in for you guys, and maybe help you to understand the information that I'm going to be putting up on the main channel in a little bit different way, and give you a different perspective on it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for joining me for this video, and sorry it's been so long since I put up a video on this channel. So I hope you enjoy this one, and I'll catch up with you maybe in a week or so when I put up a new one on this channel. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.